Hey, it's Patrick from J&P Cycles, and today we're going to show you how to take the gas tank off a late model Harley Davidson touring bike. This is going to be basically the same for, let's say, 2014 and up. It's going to be very similar. This particular bike is a 2020 Road Glide Milwaukee 8 powered bike. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to take the seat off, and then we're going to disconnect the fuel pump so we can run this bike until it dies. And what that's going to do is that's going to get the fuel out of the lines. Now, I highly recommend if you do this, you do it with not very much gas in the tank, just because it's a little bit easier. There's not as much weight in the tank. So if you need to siphon the fuel out, whatever, I would just go ride it until you got, let's say, about a quarter of a tank or less. So for us, we're about a quarter of a tank. So we're gonna pull the seat off, we're gonna get the gas out of the lines, and we're gonna start getting this fuel tank off. So we're gonna disconnect this gray connector right here, and then we're gonna run this bike until it stalls, and then I'm gonna cycle the starter a couple of more times. After that's done, we'll pull the main fuse and get to taking the tank off. Okay, lines are out of gas. We'll pull the main fuse. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and plug the fuel pump back in so we don't forget to do that later. And then we're gonna disconnect the fuel line from the tank. So to take the fuel line off, we're just gonna take this collar and slide it up and pull the fuel line down. So we'll slide this up and you see it drop down. There we go, fuel line's unhooked. So the next thing we need to do is get this console off. There's a 7/16 nut here and a 5/16 Allen here. You have to turn the ignition to get that out of the way to get to that Allen. The other thing, when you pull this console off, you have to take the gas cap off. Make sure you put that right back on so you don't drop anything down there. I'm gonna pull the vent tubes loose here and here, so when the console's ready to come off, I can take the whole thing off. So when we go to take this off, I like to unplug this and leave this unplugged down here and pull the wire off with the console. You could bend this tab open down here and leave all this plugged in. I just think it's easier to unplug this up here. So next we need to take our 2 1/2-inch screws out back here before we move to the front and take the tank off. We'll pop these 2 out. So for the front bolts, they're underneath these little rubber covers right here. Again, you're gonna need a 1/2-inch socket and some sort of little pick to pull these off, or you can just pull them off with your fingers. Okay, before we pull the tank off, it's a good idea to have a spot picked out beforehand, a nice safe spot to put your tank. You don't be walking around with the tank in your hand trying to figure it out. So just pick up the back like this, and I like to pull it away and up. So to put the tank on, I kind of tip it forward and then slide it in, and then we're gonna put the front bolts in first, torque them to 15 to 20 foot-pounds. Do the same thing with the back bolts, 15 to 20 foot-pounds. So the next thing we're gonna do is put our console back on. We have to take the gas cap off to put that on, but I like to put it right back on as soon as we can so we don't drop anything down there. So we're gonna plug this back in up here, drop our console on, put our gas cap back on, so our front Allen gets torqued to 20 to 30 inch-pounds, and this rear 7/16 bolt gets torqued from 36 to 60 inch-pounds. So we're gonna route this vent line back down where it came from. Plug this line back in, then make sure you plug your fuel pump back in, and we'll put the seat on. So this is good information to have. If you ever need to work, like on the rocker boxes, say you're putting in a stereo system, you have to run some wires to the back. Good information to have on how to take this fuel tank off. As always, if you have any questions, feel free to drop us a comment. Go work on those motorcycles.